broadcasting around the world 24 hours a day. This is Carers World Radio with Patricia Mitchell.
Hello and welcome to Carers World Radio. On today's programme, we take a look at the recent United Kingdom government budget and find out what Chancellor Alistair Darling did for the UK's 6 million carers. New strategies seem to be coming to us thick and fast. Last month we spoke to Phil Hope, Minister of State for Care Services, about the new dementia strategy. And in April we've seen the announcement of the social care workforce strategy, which sees the government wishing to boost the status of social care. We'll be finding out more about this and what it may mean for people in receipt of services from Caroline Bernard, Policy and Communications Manager at Counsel and Care. All that and much, much more on Carers World Radio. In April, the United Kingdom government Chancellor Alistair Darling faced the toughest financial challenge of his political career when he stood up in the House of Commons to deliver his budget. Addressing the Commons and faced with the worst economic crisis in modern times, and on the same day, hundreds of carers had gathered outside Downing Street to call for more recognition of carers and protest about the £53.10 carers allowance. The Chancellor had to pull something out of the bag, but the question is, did he? Joining me now from the Princess Royal Trust for Carers is Gordon Conaghy, Policy and Parliamentary Officer for the Trust. Gordon, lovely to speak to you today. Thanks for joining us.
Not at all.
I know there was a lot of things obviously discussed in the budget, but specific to carers and obviously specific to the interests of the Princess Royal Trust for Carers, what were the most important things that you saw coming out of the budget?
Well, that was one of the things. There weren't many specific things in the budget relating to carers. One of the things that was announced was that carers would be included in the new Savings Gateway scheme, which means that carers will receive a government contribution of 50p for every pound that they save. This is starting from April in 2010. However, this had already been announced prior to the budget, so it wasn't a new announcement, and it was something that we already knew about and were expecting anyway.
I was going to say, because we've covered that on Carers World Radio already, so it was a reiteration, but it was kind of like, was he scraping the barrel with that, Gordon?
Yes, I think you could say that. He's running out of rabbits in his magic hat, you could say, and he's having to bring out old tricks. There wasn't, one of our big things was that the hundreds of carers who went to Parliament and tried to make their voice heard would come away feeling as though they hadn't been listened to at all. This budget may be kind of great for economists to get their teeth into, but for carers, they must just feel as though they were completely ignored.
Yeah, it wasn't a very caring budget, was it, in that respect? Not for carers, anyway. There were some things. Now, I gather that there was some recognition of grandparents who are carers' role in how they will receive pension credits, in the sense that they're being recognised as carers, and they will now receive pension credits if they're caring for children under the age of 12 for more than 20 hours a week. But that doesn't come into play until 2011. Was that received well, or did it seem like it was, again, scraping the bottom of the barrel?
You're right. In fairness, there were other measures that carers will benefit from, and I think it is important to recognise that carers can still benefit from changes that aren't solely carer-specific. There was the credits for grandparents. The disabled and severely disabled children will also receive money being put into their trust fund account from the government, which begins April next year. So that, again, will help some families. And the social fund, which provides grants and loans for people on low incomes, have had another 125 million put into this current financial year, and next year, 2010 to 2011, another 145 million pounds. So, there are things that will benefit carers and their families. However, I think when you look at the scale of the issues that carers are facing, I think we would probably say that this was really only touching lightly upon them.
It really does reflect carers' very precarious situation, doesn't it? Because whether they get money or not from the government, or whether they get allowances or not from the government, carers carry on caring. They're in a very difficult predicament in that respect, aren't they? I mean, where is the ability to pressurise government? Because carers aren't going to go out on strike.
No, and it's actually maybe one of the things that we as a movement have to consider. We talk about how carers save the government £67 billion a year or £87 billion a year, and there's no incentive for the government to say, well, if carers are already doing such a great job saving us money, then why do we want to do anything to stop that? This is great, they're saving us all this money, let's not interfere. However, I think what a more detailed look at it would reveal is that carers, they are saving the NHS and Department of Health millions and billions every year. However, there are carers who have to leave work. They then stop earning money, stop paying taxes. If they're lucky, they then receive a carer's allowance, so they're then receiving a benefit. Now, the costs of that aren't incurred by the Department of Health, they're incurred by the Department of Work and Pensions. And I think if we took an overall view, then we would see that this country could do better if we supported carers so that they could manage where they wanted, work and caring, and gave them proper support so that carers weren't having to devote their whole life, day in, day out, year in, year out. And then they reach that crisis point where they can no longer go on. And then you're not just left with one person needing support, you're left with the carer needing support as well. And that's expensive. So I think what we have to try and do is get the message over to the government that providing good quality support for carers is actually cheaper than not giving them any support at all, and meaning that in the long run these people will basically end up needing care and support themselves.
New strategies seem to be coming thick and fast, because last month we spoke to Phil Hope, who's Minister of State for Care Services, about the new dementia strategy. In April, Phil Hope announced the social care workforce strategy, which sees government wishing to boost the status of social care. Now, currently, adult social care workforce is made up of about 1.5 million people working in many different roles, supporting about 1.75 million older people and adults of working age currently who use social care services. To take us through the finer details of the strategy is Caroline Bernard, Policy and Communications Manager at Counsel and Care. Caroline, lovely to talk to you today.
Hello.
Hello. I have to say, looking at what the government hopes to do with this strategy, I was very impressed with the desire to create almost a sense of old-fashioned professionalism. Would you agree with that's what its emphasis is?
Absolutely, yes, because what it's trying to do is the £75 million that's been sponsored by the government to develop 50,000 long-term unemployed young people to try a career in social care. So yes, it is quite an ambitious programme, one that's been long overdue.
What was interesting to me was I noticed what was hoped for. It's hoped that it's going to boost the status of social care. It's hoped that, like you said, 50,000 traineeships, £75 million for social care providers through subsidies to sustain employment for and training of young people. How realistic do you think this is, Caroline?
Well, I know there are probably some people who may think that this is a way of sort of coercing young people into a career they might not want to do, but I think it's got to be about more than that. It's got to be about looking at an aging population that's not going to go away, the fact that we need some wider skills in social care, not just in frontline coal-face care work, but also in management as well. And what SACH is trying to do is trying to develop management skills too. So A, taking younger people through a career pathway in social care, from care work up to management level, and also bringing in people who may have been made redundant, who are in management positions in other sectors, getting them to kind of bring their skills and transfer them into social care. So I think that if we look at it positively, there are lots of ways in which we can make this work.